Good morning, my dear students. Hearty welcome to everyone. The lesson that we are going to deal today is for class 12th, subject English, unit 2 prose, topic a nice cup of tea, type an essay, theme on the preparation of tea, author George Orwell. My dear children, yesterday we learned many more things about George Orwell. We saw his peculiarities, his uniqueness, his outstanding features, and thereby we also found out the problem found out by him, solution given by him. First, dealing about the problem. What was the problem that he found out? He said the word tea unmentioned in the cookery book. If at all given, one could only identify a sketchy information. Even that sketchy information may not give us rules for most of the important points that he would be given. Well, what are those important points? Those 11 points that he has contributed, those 11 points, these sketchy information cannot explain. That's what he would tell. Okay, thereby we also came across the topic tea itself is curious, interesting. Not only because tea is interesting, not only because tea is one of the main states of civilization and it has been part and parcel of everything. On the other hand, also we found out another problem. What was the problem? The best manner of making a nice cup of tea is itself the subject of violent disputes. Okay, that was from the problem side. Now we can move on to the solution. What was the solution given by him? Having understood the problem, thereby he offers a solution. So he came out with his own recipe. His recipe. What in by recipe? Recipe is nothing, any solution that can be given. Recipe is nothing. For example, to make biryani, we have a recipe how to make it, isn't it? That's what. So method, recipe is nothing, a method. So he came out with his own method. His method consisted not less than 11 points. And those 11 points are outstanding points for George Orwell. Why they were known as outstanding? Because each of them, that means even first rule, third rule, fifth rule, the last rule, each of them is regarded as gold and very, very important. We should understand, we should, what's that here? Keep in mind this word. Okay, so thereby we started with those 11 points and yesterday we dealt with the first two, isn't it? Okay, now what were those first two? Number one, use only Indian or Ceylonese tea, and thereby he told us not to go for China product, isn't it? China tea, don't have it because we yesterday we saw both the positive as well as negative dimensions. Okay, so when we dealt the first topic, we also came across which tea has to be preferred out of many. Okay, that was the first point. The second point, the second rule was nothing. Tea should be made in small quantities, isn't it? How it should be made out of what? In a teapot. So therefore here the question has to be how tea should be made and out of what shall tea be made. So these were the two crucial questions that were really addressed, isn't it? Okay, so till here it was yesterday's class, and from the third rules onwards we are going to deal today. So hereby we go. The third rule for making a nice cup of tea is nothing. Thirdly, the pot should be warmed beforehand. This is better done by placing it on the hob than by the usual method of swilling it out with hot water. So this is a third point that George Orwell suggests here. Okay. So now what is the third point here? The pot. Which pot here? The teapot must be warmed It should be warmed beforehand, because we people traditionally, what is our method? I have given in the, okay, in the photo. Can you see in the second photo? We normally with the hot water we boil it, and then we add milk and tea powder and so on so forth. But that method he doesn't suggest. Instead he tells, let the pot should be warmed, then you can go for the rest of the procedures. Okay, how that pot should be warmed? It should be done by placing the pot over, over or on the hob. What do you mean by hob? On the stove. So keep placing it on the stove and then boiling it, warming it. Then the tea should be made as such, rather than going for the traditional method of swilling. What do you mean by swilling? Filling it with the water, with the what? With the hot water. Instead of just filling the teapot with the hot water and making tea, that method may not be that much, what's the necessary one. So this is what the third rule that you should keep in mind. The teapot should be warmed beforehand. Have you all understood? Okay, so can you see on the picture? So there is a teapot and it is warmed. So that's a procedure. Okay, right, by now we move on to the fourth rule for making tea. Fourthly, the tea should be strong. So this is a very, very important point. So the tea that we take, that we normally intake, it should be strong tea. Why he is going to prefer that aspect, we will be seeing here. Okay, see there. For a pot holding a quart, if you are going to fill it nearly to the brim, 6 heaped teaspoons would be about right. In a time of rationing, this is not an idea that can be realized on every day of the week, but I maintain that one strong cup of tea is better than 20 weak ones. Okay, now we shall digest each of the ideas here. Okay, what was the fourth rule here? The tea that we consume, that we take, it should be strong tea. Okay, now what is our traditional method? We Indians, we normally take it usually in the morning. Okay, some prefer it during the afternoon time. Okay, some evening, some before going to bed also. See how many? Okay, at each interval times we take it. So now, according to this gentleman, according to George Orwell, instead of going for that sort of method of taking time after time, just take one strong tea that can really suffice many other tea. That's what he would tell here. Okay, for that, what is that he is trying to tell here? For a pot holding a quart, what do you mean by quart? 1 liter. Let's imagine. So I have given the first picture. Suppose a teapot could hold a quart, at least 1 liter. If you are going to fill it, so if you are going to fill the teapot with water nearly to the brim. What do you mean by brim? Top edge. So nearly to the top of the teapot. Then how much teaspoons should be added to that particular tea? That's what his question is. So now the answer would be one has to add 6 heaped teaspoons. That would be the right thing. For how much things here? For a pot holding a quart. To that one, 6 heaped teaspoons would be the right one according to him. Okay. Now this method, now every time a pot holding a quart, and every time adding 6 heaped teaspoons, would it be right? That is another question. So what is another thing that he finds? In a time of rationing. What do you mean by rationing? Normally we have ration shop, isn't it? Okay, rationing is nothing, restricting or limiting the consumption of a scarce commodity during war. So now, for example, now we are in COVID-19. Now our government is providing many, subsidiary things here. For example, dal, rice, those things we are given more than what we want. For example, normally if a family used to get 10 kg, Now they are given 20 kg, isn't it? Okay, now what happens? There would be sometimes that there would arise a time where those quantity, those consumption that we normally get, they might be reduced because of some unforeseeable event. For example, like this event, like COVID-19, like this since comes, we may not find or we may not expect the government to provide every quantity, every item as such, or as we think. For example, I want to buy 20 kg. I can't expect every month for the government to give. The government might restrict the quantity that which we are supposed to get. That is what rationing. Do you understand here? Okay, now in time of rationing, what happens that rationing time is a crucial time. Maybe because of an unforeseeable event, something might have happened. So now they might give you a product in a less way, in a less manner. Okay, during that time, taking the things and using as per our whims and fancy, that may not be a good thing. That's what it takes. Do you understand here? Yes. So in a time of rationing, this is not an idea. Which is not an idea? For example, taking and using things as per our usages. Because for a difficult times, we have to use the things sparingly. நமக்கு எப்பப்பெல்லாம் கஷ்டகாலங்கள் வருதோ நம்ம பொருட்களை நம்ம நார்மலாக என்ன பண்ணுவோம், கொஞ்சம் 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 கொஞ்சமாக தான் யூஸ் பண்ணுவோம். ஒரே நேரத்தில் எடுத்து எல்லாத்தையும் வேக வச்சிட மாட்டோம், எல்லாத்தையும் யூஸ் பண்ணிட மாட்டோம். Isn't it? Okay, so during those days, the above idea may not work out. For example, for a pot holding a quart, using 6 heaped teaspoons, that rule is not going to work out well. Okay, that this is not an idea that can be realized on every day of the week, but I maintain that. Okay, now he is giving a clue, an idea how the thing should be used here. But I maintain, what I maintain, I believe that one strong cup of tea is better than 20 weak ones. So instead of going for at different intervals of time, take one strong tea a day. That's quite enough. That can really suffice us. That's what he is saying here. Okay, all true tea lovers not only like their tea strong, but like it a little stronger with each year that passes. Yeah, that's a very important idea. So as the day progresses, we may not remain at the level of strong. We might go to stronger, and some more days we might go to the strongest one. So every day our level of consumption, it goes on increases. So any true tea lovers who happen to take their tea and who wishes that their tea should be very strong, then they wish that as the year passes, they go on add that that stronger one. A fact which is recognized in the extra ration issued to old age pensioners. For example, those retired people, they get extra ration. Why? Because they want to eat some more thing. So as a result, what happens? The government is providing extra things for the old age pensioners, because they want a little more. So unlike those old age pensioners, all the true tea lovers also wish that their tea to be a little stronger, not remaining at the level of strong, but a little stronger and the strongest, and so on and so forth here. Okay, have you all understood the fourth rule? Yes or no? What should be in nutshell? The tea should be strong. Should we go for at different times, at different intervals, more cups of tea? No. One cup of tea is better, is preferred than going for 20 weak ones. Can you identify in that picture? There are 5 cups of tea. So therefore, he does not recommend that one. Okay. Now we move on to the fifth rule for making tea, for making a nice cup of tea. Okay. Fifthly, the tea should be put straight into the pot. The tea should be put straight into the pot. So normally after making tea, now what do we say? What do some people prefer? They want to filter it by using some filters, isn't it? Now that should not be done. See, we Indians, most of us are violating this rule. Do you all agree that one? Yes, yes. See, can you see in that pictures? There are strainers that they use there. See on the one in the first picture, muslin bags are used. The second picture, strainers are used. Vadigatti in Tamil we say vadigatti. So we should not use those things. Why is it so? Because the quality of the tea comes down. That's what his answer would go about. Okay. Fifthly, the tea should be put straight into the pot. The tea should be put straight into the pot. No strainers. What in by strainers? Filters. Muslin bags. What in by muslin bags? Very thin cotton material. So now today we have available all these things indeed. Or other devices to imprison the tea. One by imprisoning, arresting the essence of the tea. If we use all these things, the quality of the tea is arrested. It is really taken out. It is totally removed from the reality of the tea. Okay. In some countries, teapots are fitted with little dangling baskets under the spout to catch the stray leaves which are supposed to be harmful. So can you identify in that picture, in the second picture on the stove, you could identify there is a dangling basket. Can you identify that there is a opening? That there is a narrow opening. That narrow opening there is a spout. புரியுதா? அந்த in that spout what would happen? Those stray leaves, கசடுகள் எதெல்லாம் நமக்கு தேவையில்லையோ அந்த கசடுகள்லாம் அதில் போய் தங்கிரும் அந்த ஸ்பவுட்டில். புரியுதுல? Okay, some countries have got that facility. In some countries, teapots are fitted with, what by fitted with? Attached with little dangling. What by dangling? Hanging freely. Dangling baskets under the spout. What in by spout? Suspended. Spout also could mean the pipe-like opening in a teapot through which tea is poured out. Can you see in that picture? Yeah, you are able to see. Okay, why that spout is kept there? To catch, to arrest. To arrest whom here? The stray leaves, the remaining leaves, which are supposed to be harmful, evil. That's what he says here. Okay. Actually means truly, really. Okay. One can swallow tea leaves in considerable quantities without ill effect. And if the tea is not loose in the pot, it never infuses properly. Okay, now you should keep in mind here. Okay, even now George Orwell suggests that it is good that if we take some amount of tea in the teapot and it is not going to harm you at all. There is no any ill, okay, there is no any ill harm. There is no any ill effect. So one can take some tea leaves even without filtering it. That's what he would say. Yes, sir. Now, okay. Suppose if you are going to filter everything, all the tea powder or tea leaves, once you make a cup of tea, what happens in the last two lines you are given? If the tea is not loose in the pot, if you are not allowing the tea leaves to settle down a little where in the teapot, it never infuses properly. The tea never gets its real essence. The perfume of the tea is get lost. That's what he tells. So at least we should not remove everything. Do you understand? That's the thing that he is asking us to follow. That is the fifth rule. Now moving on to the sixth rule. Sixth rule for making a nice cup of tea. What is the sixth rule? Sixthly, one should take the teapot to the kettle and not the other way about. What in by kettle? A container for boiling water. Can you identify in that picture? That is a kettle. Okay. Now, normally what happens? People take the kettle to the teapot. That is what it happens. But the moment you take the kettle to the teapot, the the warmth, the hot essence of the kettle comes down. That is the reason that they tell. That means teapot should be taken to the kettle, and the kettle should not be taken to the teapot. That is a simple way of explaining. So, sixthly, one should take the teapot to the kettle and not the other way about. The water should be actually boiling at the moment of impact, which means that one should keep it on the flame while one pours. So the moment you make tea, you should make sure that water is getting boiled. That is how it is done, by placing it on the stove, on the flame, and so on and so forth here. Okay. Some people add that one should only use water that has been freshly brought to the boil. But I have never noticed that it makes any difference. So some people say that every time you make tea, a nice cup of tea, you have to use only fresh water. But George Well doesn't agree to that idea. Using old water or fresh water, new water, it doesn't make any sense to him. There is no any difference. Tea is tea. Okay, in whatever form you make it, in whatever the things that you mix it, the essence of the tea does not get alterated. Do you understand? Whether you use old water or fresh water or new water, it is not a matter of much discussion. It doesn't make any sense to him, any difference to him. Okay, so now can you all bear in mind about the sixth rule? What is the sixth rule? One should take the teapot to the kettle and not the kettle to the teapot. Why the kettle should not be taken to the teapot? The hot essence would come down. The kettle is known for keeping the things warm. Okay, next we move on to the seventh rule. Seventh rule for making tea. Seventhly, after making the tea, one should stir it, or better, give the pot a good shake afterwards, allowing the leaves to settle. Okay, now what does he tell here? After making tea, make sure that you just stir it. What do you mean by stirring? Stir means kindling. நம்ம கலப்போம்ல நம்ம ஸ்பூன் போட்டு கலப்போம் இல்லையா? Okay, that's what stirring, kindling, mixing. So after making the tea, one should stir it. So suppose you are not going to do stirring activity, or what could be done? Or better, if you are not going to stir it, go for the other way. What is the other way? Give the pot a good shake. Give the teapot a good shake. And the teapot கொஞ்சம் அப்படியே shake பண்ணுங்க. Why? Afterwards, allowing the leaves to settle, so that whatever the leaves are there, they would go and settle down, so that you are able to get the true essence of the tea. That's what he suggests here. Do you understand here? Yes or no? That means here he indirectly suggests, or he is indirectly making a comparison between fifth point to the seventh point. What was the fifth point? Tea should be put straight into the teapot. No strainers, muslin bags or other devices are to be used. Without using those things, just pour the tea and just stir it and then give a good shake, so that the leaves, whatever the unwanted one, they will go and settle down. Yes or no? Yes, that's the thing that he talks about under the seventh rule. Okay, now we move on to the eighth rule for making a nice cup of tea. What is the eighth rule? What sort of cup has to be preferred? Okay, see that. Eighthly, one should drink out of a good breakfast cup. That is the cylindrical type of cup, not the flat, shallow type. not the flat or shallow type. Can you identify in the second picture? Shallow, flat cups are there, isn't it? Okay, why that sort of cylindrical type of cup are to be totally avoided, omitted? Why a good breakfast cup has to be preferred, on the other hand? Okay, now we have the reason in the down. The breakfast cup holds more. So the quantity that we wanted to contain in a cup is held by the breakfast cup. The breakfast cup holds more quantity than the cylindrical type. Why? What happens with the cylindrical one? While with the other kind, which with the other kind means now we are referring to the flat, shallow type. What is that? Flat or shallow type? Cylindrical type of cup. While the other kind, one's tea is always half cold before one has well started on it. So the moment you start sipping tea, the moment you try to intake tea, half cold it becomes. In which type of cup? In the cylindrical type cup. But in a good breakfast cup, it doesn't happen. So what sort of cup has to be preferred while drinking a nice cup of tea, my dear children? A good breakfast cup. And what should be avoided? The cylindrical type of cup. Why that has to be avoided? Because it becomes half cold the moment you start drinking it, and then it contains less. Okay. Okay, ninth rule for making tea. Ninthly, one should pour the cream off the milk before using it for tea. Milk that is too creamy always gives tea a sickly taste. Okay, now this normally we find it like mora. In Tamil we say what's a dear? Murai. Okay, that's what cream. One should pour the cream of the milk. We should not allow the cream to be settling. Why? Milk that is too creamy. Wherever you find milk with a lot of creamy, that gives anyone who drinks, gives him or her a sickly taste. What in by sickly? Poor taste. Sickly means what's that here? Poor or unhealthy taste. It doesn't give you a good aroma. Okay, we move on to the 10th rule. 10th rule for making a nice cup of tea. So this is one of the most controversial point. Here we have one of the most debating what's that here? Topic. Okay, 10thly, one should pour tea into the cup first. Normally, what do we say here? Normally, we people pour milk and then we add tea powder. Yes or no? But here he tells the other way. See, mostly Indians, we are not known for the quality ones. Somehow we want to know, we wanted quantities. See, the first thing that okay, this is one of the most controversial, highly debatable dispute points. One should pour tea into the cup first. This is one of the most controversial points of all. So we have 11 points. Yesterday we came across two are pretty agreements, and other fours are highly controversial. And among the four, this could be to the superlative category, one of the most controversial. Why it is one of the most controversial? Because as we said yesterday, this gentleman he was a British writer and he was from UK. So in Britain, what happens? Indeed, in every family in Britain, there are probably two schools of thought on the subject. Which is subject? Whether one should pour milk first or tea first. This is one of the hottest topic of the day, a hot potato of the day. For which people? For the people of Britain. Whether one should pour milk first or tea first into a cup, into the teacup. Okay, that's what they say here. Okay. Indeed, in every family in Britain, there are probably two schools of thought on the subject. So, what are those two schools? The milk first school, and then we have the tea first school. Okay, who is going to win the argument? So, already we know the answer from this gentleman. Tea school is going to be the winner. Okay, now what happens? So, what is the difference? The milk first school can bring forward some fairly strong arguments. Okay, now the milk first school, they bring their own argument, their own what's that here? Justification, their own evidence telling that milk has to be chosen first, milk has to be preferred first. Okay, now what does he refute? How does he refute? How does he deny? But I maintain, what do I maintain here? Believe. But I maintain that my own argument is unanswerable. That means he is not going to be in favor of milk school. His own argument cannot, his own argument, his own opinion statement cannot support milk school. Why? This is that by putting the tea in first and stirring as one pours, one can exactly regulate the amount of milk, whereas one is liable to put in too much milk if one does it the other way around. Do you understand what is he trying to tell us here? What is he trying to offer us? Yes, he tells, instead of taking milk first, suppose he take tea first, because he is on the tea side. He is a tea, okay, he is known for tea first school. He is not known for milk first school. Okay, now what is the argument? What is the opinion statement that he gives here? Suppose he take tea first. If we pour into the cup tea first, and if you stir it, mix it, kindle it, then you can exactly measure the amount of milk that you want, isn't it? Because you have to be responsible the moment you pour into a cup of okay, into a cup. ஒரு கப்பில் வந்து நம்ம வந்து பாலை ஊற்றும் பொழுது அதில் எவ்வளோ பால் ஊற்றுறோம்னு நம்ம ஓகே, வி ஆர் த பர்சன் ஹூ டிசைடிங். Okay, if you are going to pour milk first, then you, okay, sometime the amount of milk that which you don't want would have exceeded. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell here? ஒரு சில நேரங்கள் நம்ம பாலை முதல்ல ஊற்றும் பொழுது நமக்கு தேவையில்லாத அமௌண்ட்டு கூட போயிருக்கலாம். எதை நம்ம ஃபஸ்ட்டு ப்ரிஃபர் பண்ணும் பொழுது, மில்கை ப்ரிஃபர் பண்ணும் பொழுது. பட் தென் இஃப் யூ கோ ஃபார் தி அதர் வே மீன்ஸ் இஃப் யூ கோ ஃபார் த டீ ஃபர்ஸ்ட், and then what happens, you can exactly regulate. One in by regulate, measure, normalize, minimize the amount of milk that you want. And whereas one is liable, very very important word, what in by liable? Liable means responsible. Who is responsible? One who pours milk, he is responsible how much milk has to be poured. Okay, whereas one is liable to put it too much milk. Suppose if you are going to take milk first, then okay, you may not have the exact measurement. It might exceed. That's what he is telling. If one does it the other way, do you all understand here? So what should be poured? What should be poured into the cup first? Should it be milk or tea? Definitely, it has to be tea, not the milk. Okay. The last rule. How many golden points we have? How many points he has framed here? He has given, he has offered 11 points. Okay. 11th rule for making tea. Lastly, tea, unless one is drinking it in the Russian style. So in Russia, what is the style of Russians? They normally add sugar in their tea. That's what their Russian, okay, that is what Russian style. Okay, unless one is drinking it in the Russian style, should be drunk without sugar. So don't imitate Russian style. Russian people, they add sugar. That means indirectly he tells, don't add sugar, don't use sugar. If you are going to be a true lover of tea, one has to avoid sugar completely. Why? It is if you are going to add sugar, it is equal to adding pepper, salt into your tea. நம்மளுடைய டீயில் வந்து பெப்பரையோ மிளகையோ உப்பையோ கலந்து குடித்தோம்னா என்ன நிலமை ஆகும்? Yes or no? That's what he tells exactly. If you are going to mix along with your tea, sugar, this is what the same taste that you are going to get. Okay. Should be drunk without sugar. I know very well that I am in a minority here. Why he tells that he is a minority? What is my minority? A smaller number. Why he feels that he is minority? Because 1/4 of the people, like Indians, we people also, we all add sugar in the tea, isn't it? That means sugarless people who are not adding sugar in the tea, they will be very minimum in number. So along with those minimum number, he is also a part of it. He also belongs to the minority, not majority. So that means, see, that this is also another controversial point, no? Yes or no? Okay. But still, how can you call yourself a true tea lover if you destroy the flavor of your tea by putting a sugar in it? Can you understand what he is trying to tell you here? If you are going to add sugar, if you are going to add sweeteners, you are destroying the flavor of your tea. You are not at all tasting the essence. You are tasting the sugar instead of tasting the tea. Okay, now we shall see what is happening. It would be equally reasonable to put in pepper or salt. Tea is meant to be bitter, just as beer is meant to be bitter. So tea has to be bitter taste. It is not meant for a sugar taste. That's what. But if you are adding sugar, it would be equal to adding pepper or salt. Okay. If you sweeten it, you are no longer tasting the tea. You are merely, what do you mean merely? Simply, you are merely tasting the sugar. You could make a very similar drink by dissolving sugar in plain hot water. So, okay, suppose you are going to add sugar in a tea and then tasting it. நம்மளுடைய டீயில் வந்து சுகரை ஆட் பண்ணி குடித்தோம்னா அதுக்கு நீங்கள் வந்து ஒரு சுடுதண்ணியில் வந்து ஜீனியை கலந்துக்கிட்டு குடிச்சிட்டு போயிடலாமே. இட் இஸ் நோ யூஸ் ஆஃப் ட்ரிங்கிங் வித் மில்க். ஆடிங் மில்க் அண்ட் ஆடிங் சுகர் அண்ட் ட்ரிங்கிங், இட் இஸ் நோ யூஸ், isn't it? It could be, instead of preferring tea part, take some hot water and just dissolve sugar and drink it. Mix sugar and drink it. That's what it tells. Yes or no? So that's a mistake that we people do. The last solution is nothing. Don't add sugar. That's what. One should drink it without sugar, and we should not follow the Russian style. Do you remember? We should not choose which tea here, China tea. Unlike that one, we shall not choose that. We shall not follow the Russian model, the Russian style that he tells here. Okay, that is the last point that you have come across here. Some people would answer that they don't like tea in itself. Okay, some people they tell that they don't like tea at all. But then why do they drink tea? Just they offer this. Okay, this is what their answer would be. That they only drink it in order to be warmed or stimulated. So to get themselves little bit energized, to get a little bit hot, they drink it so. And they need sugar to take the taste away. And they need sugar, adding sugar, and then they destroy it. That's what he tells here. To those misguided people, who are the misguided? What do you mean misguided? Misled. If you are guided properly, you are a guided person. Mis means against. So you are guided, okay, in a opposite way. To those misguided people here, whom does in this context, who are the misguided people? People who are using sugar in the tea. People who use sweeteners in the tea. To those misguided people, he is going to tell something. At least he is offering a piece of advice. To those misguided people, I would say, try drinking tea without sugar for say a fortnight. And it is very unlikely that you will ever want to ruin your tea by sweetening it. So he is offering he is offering an advice. What is advice? Okay, just make an attempt, make a try of not adding sugar in your tea, and then practice it for how many days? For nearly 2 weeks, a fortnight. Actually, it is a blending word. It is a blending word. Fortnight. 14 plus night is known as fortnight. 14 nights are known as a fortnight. So how many days he is asking us to practice it? At least for 2 weeks, 14 days. If you practice it, then I hope then you are going to be the winner of the day. You are going to really enjoy a nice cup of tea. And it is very unlikely that you will ever want to ruin your tea by sweetening it again. If you are going to practice it without adding sugar in your tea, and if you are going to get accustomed to that one, then you are not going to ruin means destroy, damage. You are not going to damage your tea by simply adding sugar. Okay, now we are coming to the final part of the lesson. These are not only the controversial points to arise in connection with tea drinking, but they are sufficient to show how subtilized the whole business has become. Okay, what does it tell here? It is not only that we have come across controversial points alone. Okay, when we talk about tea drinking, in the topic of tea drinking, it is not that we have only come across only controversial points, the opposite points, but but there are also many ideas that have really showed us the whole business of drinking a cup of tea. There are also many other positive points that we have come across. What in by subtilized, made well. So the whole business of making a nice cup of tea and enjoying it, that part also has been learned by us instead of addressing only the controversial points. Okay, in connection with the controversial points, we have also learned to enjoy the art of making a cup of tea. Do you understand here? Okay. There is also the mysterious social etiquette surrounding the teapot. Okay, now we find mysterious. What is my mysterious? Incomprehensible. Puriyada. Kulapamana. So, when we talk about the teapot, even concerning teapot, even with regard to teapot, there are many social etiquette. What by etiquette? Etiquette means நல்ல பழக்க வழக்கங்கள், socially acceptable behavior. For example, always telling the truth is a good etiquette. On the other hand, always telling lies 24 into 7, that is not socially acceptable behavior. So we have certain social etiquette. For example, whenever you gather in a place, in a public, there are certain etiquette. For example, spitting in the public place, and using the things as per our whims and fancies in front of the public places. Can it be acceptable? No. There are certain, that means we are socially, we are determined, we are conditioned, we are always monitored, regulated. Okay, now regarding teapot also, we have certain etiquette that are socially conditioned, that are socially, we are limited, we have to follow the rules concerning the law. And those rules are not very clear. Why they are not very clear? They are very mysterious. What is the difference between mystery and a problem? Can you all tell me? Yes, a problem has a solution. A mystery has no solution because it is incomprehensible. For example, if you are not getting water for 2 weeks, Kaveri water, we have some solution. We can complain in the municipality, or we can give you a petition to collector, and we can get it. We can solve the problem. We can find a solution. For example, now take for example COVID-19 vaccination. It's a mysterious. So far, no solution at all. So those things which has no solution, they are known as mystery, and those dimensions are known as, those parts are known as mysterious. So therefore, we have okay, even related to teapots, we have certain mysterious okay dimensions, mysterious parts. What is those mysterious parts we are going to see here? Why is it considered vulgar to drink out of your saucer? For instance, normally we have always tea, okay, a teacup attached with a saucer. So now if you are going to pour some tea in a saucer and drinking, can it be socially acceptable? That is a question that they ask. Is okay, isn't it okay, is not this behavior that is socially deviant, that is socially, that is what's that, very evil, that is not socially acceptable? For example, when it comes to the social context, personally, okay, at home you may do it, it is not a problem. But in the okay, in public places, in matter to okay, in matters related to the society, can that behavior be accepted? That is the first question that he is asking. Okay, now what are other mysterious dimension that we have? And much might be written about the subsidiary uses of tea leaves. So there are also other things that we can talk about tea leaves also. What is that here? Our tea leaves can tell something, telling fortunes. In okay, நம்முடைய வாழ்க்கையில் ஏதோ ஒரு லக்கு நடக்க போகுது, ஏதோ ஒரு நல்ல விஷயம் நடக்க போகுதுன்னு ஈவன் டீ லீவ்ஸ் கேன் ப்ரெடிக்ட் இட் சிம்ஸ். Tea leaves can tell us it seems. See there. Next one, predicting the arrival of visitor. If a crow happen to roam about a house, and if they happen to make some okay unutterable noise, then we could understand visitors are going to come. Even tea leaves also has that capacity, it seems. Tea leaves also can tell you, can give us some prediction, some guessing about the arrival of visitors that we will be meeting. Next one, tea leaves also meant for feeding rabbits. So these are the additional usages. Subsidiary. What means subsidiary? Supplementary. Supplementary means additional. So apart from what is the essential usage of tea? It is meant for making a nice cup of tea. Tea is okay. Tea is meant for okay. Tea leaves are meant for making a nice cup of tea. That is the essential dimension. Or what is the secondary? That is a primary. That is a primary dimension. What is the secondary dimension? These are the secondary dimension. Tea leaves also can tell us good fortunes. This also can predict the arrival of visitors. And tea leaves also used for feeding rabbits. Tea leaves also used for feeding rabbits, and tea leaves also used for healing burns. நம்முடைய புண்கள், நம்முடைய காயங்களுக்கெல்லாம் we can use it. And sweeping the carpet, we can also use tea leaves for sweeping the carpet. It is worth paying attention to such details as warming the pot and using water. So these are some of the good things that okay, a good advice that we have received from George Orwell. So with that we complete the lesson, and right by now we are going to have the last part of the lesson, those 11 points in nutshell. So yesterday we came across 2, and today we have dealt the rest of thing. At least these things you can keep in mind. Okay, can you identify George Orwell in that picture? Yes, he is that gentleman. Okay, first of all, one should use Indian or Ceylonese tea. Secondly, tea should be made in small quantities, that is in a teapot. Thirdly, the pot should be warmed. Which pot? The teapot should be warmed beforehand. Fourthly, the tea should be strong. Fifthly, the tea should be put straight into the pot. Sixthly, one should take the teapot to the kettle and not the other way about. Seventhly, after making the tea, one should stir it, or better give the pot a good shake, afterwards allowing the leaves to settle down. Eighthly, one should drink out of a good breakfast cup, not the cylindrical cup of tea, isn't it? Ninthly, one should pour the cream of the milk before using it for tea. Tenthly, one should pour tea into the cup first. Lastly, the moment one happen to drink tea, one should drink tea without sugar or don't use sweeteners. So that's a good lesson that we have learned. So right by now we all have become a true lovers of tea, and these golden points are a highly an inspiration to each one of us, isn't it? Okay, so with that we conclude the lesson. Thank you very much.